I'm getting triggered. Well, this is the only way I ever get triggered, so I'm going to show you guys how to set this up. This is a demo mode. I'm running Pico 7, and the reason I'm showing you Pico 7 is because in the video that's live on a car, I'm using Pico 6. But I want to just show you that everything is there with Pico 7. Before we get into that, let me just stop that. Facebook's doing good. Thank you guys for following me over there. I appreciate that. This was actually a suggestion from my Facebook, and I had the time, so I'm going to show you how to set up an advanced trigger, or I'm going to show you how I set it up. I'm sure there's 100 different ways, but you'll see a live video where I'm going to show you 2 different ways. And then there's a lot of questions get asked about scopes. My opinion is this: if you own a scope, no matter what brand it is, you're already ahead of the game. If you're looking to buy a scope, check out Auto Nerds. There's links in the description box on all my videos, my Facebook page, and my Instagram. Those guys, they really support the customer after they've taken your money. That's odd and weird to hear, but they really do. For you guys that bought your scope somewhere else, hey, click the link, go check out the website. Trevor is always adding ways that you could join and get the support without actually buying a Pico kit. There's lots of options. If you're a shop owner, there's options for that. If you're just an individual guy, there's an option for that. I would suggest reading it. If you have questions, give those guys a call. They're there. They're going to answer your questions and maybe tailor something for you. So this is about an advanced trigger. On Pico 7, this is just a demo. I'm not hooked up to fuel injectors and coils. This is just a demo mode. If I hit start, it goes. Hit stop, it stops. If you were wanting to make the advanced trigger that you're going to see that I'm showing you on Pico 6, you would just simply go here to trigger. Here's the repeat. That's what I like to use. You would go to change type, pulse width. I let the software populate these numbers. The hysteresis is kind of like a filter. If you have a lot of noise, you can change that a little up and down, but it generally works really good the way it populates. You'll see on Pico 6 where I'm showing you the difference between positive and negative. Well, there's your options there. Here's the greater than, inside, less than. You see that I chose greater than, and then here's the time that I was messing with on the Pico 6 software. So everything is here for you in Pico 7. I get asked a lot of questions. Why do I use Pico 6? Honestly, guys, I've been using it for so long, I am very slow to change. If you guys watched my video on a no-start masked Maxima, you'll see that I actually use 7 because the mask setup to me is easier and more intuitive than Pico 6. So both software play nicely on the same PC, and the great thing is all the software is free. So pick and choose, grab a build. If you don't like it, back up to a earlier build, and then wait for a newer build. There's always bugs. There's always bugs being fixed. But the beauty of it is the software is always free. So enjoy the little in-shot video. There's a slight glare on the screen, but I think it's worthy of showing you guys and putting up. So I appreciate you guys sharing and liking and subscribing and all the YouTube-y type things that I'm supposed to say. So have a good one. All right, live in the parking lot, we are going to look at an advanced trigger for looking at a possible chain issue. So what I've got is I've got cam and crank. Red is the crank signal and the blue is the cam signal. Right now I have no trigger. You can see it's just kind of walking across the screen. We have 10 milliseconds per division on the screen, so we're kind of zoomed in tight. So with no trigger, this is what we've got. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a repeating trigger, but I'm going to use a simple edge trigger. and we're going to trigger on the red trace, and you can see it does freeze the red trace, but it's still walking. So let's try an advanced trigger, and this is how I like to set it up. There's a couple of different ways that I'm going to show you, but there's probably more than what we're going to talk about. So I want to trigger off the gap of the red trace. I want to trigger off the signature pulse here. So I like to just take a quick measurement, and I'm just going to do it really quick. So 5.4 milliseconds, and it's on the 0 side. It's not pulled up, it's pulled down. So 5.4 milliseconds. So let's go in here and let's find our pulse width. First off, let's just start our scope, and let's find our pulse width. It defaults to positive, so I'm going to show you what's going to happen. So I'll set it at 5 milliseconds, and you can see the scope's really not doing anything. It says it's running down here. I hope you can see that, but it is running. But we haven't met the criteria for the trigger to start drawing lines. So let's go back in and fine tune it. So first off, we want it on the negative pulse. So just that change right there, and then we'll start our scope. And now it's starting to draw a line. What it's doing is it's triggering here, and it's holding me in the gap, and it's letting me see this edge. And if this thing were jumping around a lot, it could be slack in the timing chain or a VVT actuator shaking. But it's a neat way to hold the capture right there. So you've seen where I measured it. Well, if you didn't want to measure it, you could just simply go in here, pull all your captures to the top, and just keep messing with the time base. See right there, nothing met the criteria, so it's going to stop drawing. And if we get down to the sweet spot, it's drawing again. And if I go too far, lots of things are going to meet the criteria, so it's going to draw a lot of stuff. So you could either measure it or just kind of keep pushing buttons until you get to the spot you want. Now I'm going to reach over here and rev the engine. Now remember, as the engine speed increases, this gap's going to get smaller. So what's going to happen is if you need to check for something at 2,500 RPMs, you're going to have to keep tailoring this, because 5 milliseconds is not going to be the right spec. It'll start, once I speed the engine up, this is going to narrow, and it's looking for something greater than 5 milliseconds. So when this narrows, it won't trigger. So let me show you real quick what I'm talking about. So I'm going to rev the engine. See, it stopped triggering right there. So what you could do is come in here and let's turn this down to 2. See, it's still not letting me rev. It's not drawing a line. So let's keep decreasing this. Let's get down to 800. See, now at idle it won't catch it, but if I rev it like right there, see, now it's fitting the criteria to trigger. So it's not perfect, but it will work. You just have to play with it. Like if I were to active test this intake pulse here with the scan tool, it has to be over 2,500 RPM. So I would have to get this thing right and then active test, and I would be able to see if my solenoid was able to move my cam. That's probably the main thing I use this for. Of course, I'm using Pico 6 right now. You can do this with Pico 7. I'm not overly familiar with using Pico 7, but I know the triggers are there. I guess that'll be my homework for myself to get more familiar with it. But right there. So now if this car had a chain problem, like I said, this thing would be moving all around. But this engine's pretty tight, and it's a good one to practice on and use the triggers. So I want to thank you guys. I had some people hit me up on Facebook about showing how to set this trigger up. So finally got a break in the action where I could come out here and do it. So I hope you guys appreciate it. I enjoy making the videos, and as always, thank you guys for watching. Have a good one.